So my guy friend's been seeing this girl for a while, but he told me he doesn't want anything serious with her. And last night he tells me that he's taking her out to dinner on Valentine's Day. And I was like, what? And he was like, what? And I was like, if a guy I was seeing took me out to dinner on Valentine's Day, I would think he's like asking me to be his girlfriend. And he was like, why would you think that? And I was like, why would you think that Valentine's Day is a casual day?
He already knows that taking this woman out on Valentine's Day is probably going to confuse her about what they really are and the status of their relationship. Because then they can get more out of you than they're willing to commit to get. He's not going to say, hey, this is just a casual dinner. You do know that. It happens to be a Wednesday, that happens to be Valentine's Day, but we're just friends, or we're just having a casual night out. That he benefits more from her thinking that maybe this is really something. Who asked a girl out on Valentine's Day?
I love that video so much. It's linked in my caption. I have so many things I want to say about this. One, I'm probably going to make a few videos about Valentine's Day today, the day after Valentine's Day, because I really hate that day. I will always be a girl's girl. I will always celebrate Galentine's Day, even though I'm happily married and actually do believe in love. I hate this holiday, and I hate how it makes women feel. So I don't judge people who celebrate Valentine's Day, but it brings out the absolute worst, especially in heterosexual couples. But what I want to say about that in particular, and this isn't just about Valentine's Day, this is about the theme of tricking women in general by treating them like a girlfriend a little bit, but saying out loud repeatedly sometimes that they don't want commitment. I wish I had learned this earlier. This is men purposely trying to confuse you. It's not like, and this is why I want women to stop dating men and giving men their energy, their time, and even like girlfriend and wife treatments when they are not committed to you, especially when they have expressed that they don't want a relationship, quote unquote, from them. They do this on purpose, and I've had men actually admit this to me. Sometimes they didn't realize how malicious they were being, like, because that's that whole cognitive dissonance thing, but they actually are quite smart and they know what they're doing. I've had a man admit to me later on, after he started to really be honest with himself, that he realized that he always said he didn't want a relationship with a lot of these women. And yet when he looked back, he still was doing things that showed he wanted a relationship, like introducing her to his family, like literally introducing her to his family. But there was like no strings attached. These men are doing it on purpose. They benefit from the confusion. They benefit so much from the breadcrumbing. God, like they purposely, that breadcrumb guy that I talk about a lot, that one that I wrote about for Shondaland called, this is the title if you want to look it up. That man was consistent with one thing, his inconsistency. This inconsistency is on purpose, and it's intentional, and it's never, ever, ever, ever because he's just so busy with his work right now. God, even another guy. I remember this other guy went on several dates with him, and we really had a good time chatting. And I could tell that he actually really thought I was really interesting. Like, I don't know, I could tell that he actually respected me as a human being, but he didn't want to date me. That was very clear. And I was the one who like reached out and was like, hey, do you want to go out? And then he'd go out. And then finally I was like, and this was in my baby dating years, y'all, okay? Which was in my late 30s. That's when I really started dating, and I learned some very hard lessons very quickly. And I just remember being like, finally I just called him out on it. I was like, why do you keep going out with me? And he's like, what do you mean? You're like super cool. And him and I had actually never even hooked up. Like we had kissed. That's it. So this man wasn't even like using me for schmegs. This man, I think it was like kind of the way, and I know that I've done this too. Like, oh, this person seems like a good fit. I should like this person, but it's just not there. But this is actually, I'm going to give an example later on of something much more malicious. But even sometimes they are like lying to themselves about what they really want. And they're like, yeah, like let's hang out. Why not? But they're not actively pursuing me. And finally I was like, I don't know. It just seems like we have great conversations. We have a good time together, but you never initiate. You don't, your actions don't reflect someone who's the least bit interested in me, to be honest. And I'm sorry, but like nobody is that busy at their job to like reach out and text someone they're interested in. And he was like, so I was like, to me, this isn't worth it to me. And we'd only been on a handful of dates, but it was just like this lack of enthusiasm. And I finally was like, why am I doing all the work here? And this is, of course, before I knew any better. So when I said that, he was like, you're right. Like, you're a really cool person. And like, I don't know, I guess you're right. My actions don't reflect someone who's really excited about this. And thank you for calling me out on that. Now, I have since learned to not even give men any of this information because they're just going to use it to manipulate women anyway. I'm not giving men any lessons anymore. Learn yourself, bro. But I followed him on Instagram for a while. And he followed me back, of course. Like, we followed each other. This man was engaged 6 months later. So either A, he was just like going on lots of dates with lots of women, which is fine because we were not in a committed relationship and I was going on dates with lots of women. But the thing that I did not pay attention to is he was not enthusiastic about me. But 6 months later, he is engaged and they're moving in together. Like, this man was absolutely wanting a relationship, but he was keeping his options open like women should. You are not in a committed relationship unless you are explicitly in a committed relationship. You should never act that way. Do not move that way. Keep going on dates with other men because if he has not asked for a commitment from you, y'all are not dating. You're not dating. You're going on dates, but you're not dating. I need women to start acting more like men. Seriously, especially since we're the gold and they're the diggers. So even when it's not done maliciously, these men's actions never actually, I don't want to say never, but their actions, watch their actions and actually do listen to their words sometimes because they literally tell us out of the gate they don't want a relationship. But when I say watch their actions, do their actions line up with someone who's genuinely excited to be with you? Do they text you regularly, consistently? Do they check in with you, but also not exhaust you? Are they really excited to see you? But they also have a life, of course. Like, because so many men, when I look back on it, I'm like, God, it's so clear to me now that he was not interested, like, really at all. And yet I told myself this because anything's better than nothing. But now I want to talk about back where that first video is about is the men who are purposely manipulating women with confusion. And that's what these breadcrumbers will do. These breadcrumb men, when and if you ask for more, they'll give you a little bit more. Like that breadcrumb guy. Of course, he did not give me anything on Valentine's Day. We've been hanging out for, 4 months at this point. Didn't say happy Valentine's, didn't get me anything, didn't even acknowledge it. Now, it is France and it's not that big of a deal over here, but it's still like known. It's not like hyper-capitalist consumption day like it is in the U.S. There's not as much pressure over here, but it is still acknowledged, and there's a little bit of buzz around it. Not even mentioning anything about it was a very intentional choice on his part. Now, I have actually never celebrated Valentine's Day. I refuse to. Like, in my marriage, I'm like, nope, I don't want anything. I hate this holiday. But this man didn't know that I hated this holiday. Like when I had another boyfriend before, he wanted to take me out on Valentine's Day. I was like, nope, I refuse to go out on this day. We can go out tomorrow night, but not today. But this man didn't know how I felt about Valentine's Day. So him deciding to mention nothing about it was an intentional choice. So I went and bought myself some flowers on Valentine's Day because I was like, I'm going to treat myself the way I wish a partner would treat me. And that's why also I want women to start dating themselves and knowing what it's like to feel loved and cherished and adored by themselves because you are the love of your life. You are the love of your life. And if you don't go into dating with that attitude, then you will take breadcrumbs from any man who gives you anything because you're not used to giving yourself anything. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. But this man, I had to fight for any effort from anything from him. Like I called him out on the whole not Valentine's Day. Oh, I just think it was a big deal. That's an American thing, blah, blah, blah. When we were only hanging out once a week, I was like, can we hang out on a weekend someday? And even though I was forking a bunch of other dudes because I was having the time of my life, there was a part of me that still wanted something from this man. Of course, it was unresolved daddy issues and all kinds of stuff, and always chasing after the unavailable man because I was actually the unavailable one and really trying to prove that if I can get this breadcrumber man, then that proves that I am worth it and everything that my dad and all the men before did to me is now I'm redeemed because this one man who's unavailable is now finally changing his mind. Don't do that, y'all. It never works. So I really needed this one man who didn't like me to like me. He never did. I never could change him. I never could convince this man that I was good enough for him. Not because I'm not good enough for him, but because he's just not interested. He just doesn't like me, and that's okay. Because this man slept in a twin bed with Pokemon pillows. And I was 40. I was a 40 No, 41 maybe. And this man was like 30, mid-30s, living with his brother. Also, I didn't ask this man enough questions. Apparently, he had actually had a long-term partner before. They lived together. They were on the like marriage and kids route. I assumed this man was doing all the things that he was doing because he was just like a boy, right? Like he just doesn't, he's never been in a relationship. No. Why? I didn't ask questions. Ask more questions, y'all. Ask more questions. These men lie through omission all the time. They just don't tell you, oh yeah, I've had a relationship before. I just assume he hadn't because he was so bad at it. Dumb me. No, not dumb me. Naive me. Benefit of the doubty giving me. Think that men are not malicious me. Oh boy, do I think differently now. But anyway, the point is that I had to fight for every single little thing that he gave me. And it's only after I complained and only if he knew he was going to lose access to me. He was perfectly fine just seeing me once a week for eternity until he, found someone else. When I finally asked for more, then he gave me, well, okay, I'll give you a weekend every once in a while. And then when I asked for one, it was always that. And I basically had to finally dump him and just cut him off entirely when I said, like, look, I feel like I'm going to fall in love with you if we keep this up. And he was like, well, I'm never going to say I love you. And I was like, okay, appreciate your honesty here, bro. So I broke up with him, cut him off. Best thing I ever did. And then after I was married, he was like, hey, what's up? I'm like, bro, I should have blocked him. Please block these guys because I still lived with hope that he would text me. And that's very, that hits on your self-esteem. That's a little jab to your self-esteem when you don't block these guys because there's a part of you that really wants to hear from them and that'll give you a little boost of self-confidence, but it's not worth all of the loss of self-confidence knowing that you're still making yourself available to hear from them. Even if you promise yourself, I'm never going to text him again, you wanting to hear from him, you wanting to get that text, that is a hit to your self-esteem. Just block them. Cut off access. But it really wasn't until a guy friend of me, when he was on his unpacking journey, realized just how selfish he had been in some of his past relationships and how so many things that he had done were intentional. And he had to sit with that because a lot of these men will never admit to themselves, much less to you, that they are purposely withholding commitment, that they're purposely doing little things like taking you out on Valentine's Day so that you think that you're more, but will never say, I love you. Like that, he made an intentional choice to take her on Valentine's Day so that he could keep her confused. Remember I did that video the other day that we need to, like, instead of just talking about patriarchy, we just need to talk about mind control. This is an example of mind control. They purposely are giving you just a little bit to get, they know, especially if they know that you want a relationship, they prey on you and exploit your hopes, your desires, our little patriarchy fantasy of like the one and blah. And, and especially on Valentine's Day. I used to really struggle with Valentine's Day because of the reinforcement of the fantasy. People getting flowers, people getting chocolates. And I really, I was fine with being single, but I actually liked being single, but Valentine's Day was very difficult for me because I was like, but I've never been asked out. I've literally never been treated to anything on Valentine's Day. Since I've turned now, and since my 40s, it's because I want nothing to do with that holiday. And so it's like, don't insult me. Like, I don't want to. I don't. To me, it'll always be Galentine's Day. And I'm going to make a video on that. Because the loves of your life really are yourself and oftentimes other women or your soulmate that's platonic. And then some of us will get a romantic soulmate too. But it's really not, that's not what we're here for. Really. I just found that in my 40s. But I loved my life before that because I had my Galentine. But a lot of these men know. They know how much pressure we're under. They know how much we just want to be loved. They know how much we hate ourselves when we see everyone around us being taken out for Valentine's Day and we're not. And so that man made a very intentional choice to take his situationship out on Valentine's Day to purposely confuse her. Because she's going to stick around a lot longer because she's going to hold on to that idea that, but he took me out on Valentine's Day. When he doesn't text back, when he leaves her on red, when he does all those things, You know, and she's looking at her phone all the time being like, God, I should really stop this. She's going to have that one postcard memory from Valentine's Day, and that is going to veto all the other evidence that is, you know, piled up against this man. This one date on Valentine's Day will keep her giving him access. I'm telling you, man, this is mind control. And then in addition to that, which was just talked about as well, was that he also gets to look like the silly, stupid man with that woman, the friend who called him out and was like, how could you take a girl out on Valentine's Day and not think it? And he's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? These men, the most brilliant thing they have ever done is convince us that they are stupid and that this is not all intentional. I don't know how to make a bed, even though I was in the Navy and had to bounce a quarter off of it. Literally, that's my dad told me that he's amazing at making beds because he was in the Navy, but he pretends not to. My dad told me that, y'all. And once I started hearing men actually admit to pretending to be stupid, I see it everywhere now. I don't understand. Why would she think that we're together on Valentine's Day? So when you start listening, like, if that woman understood men, she would have cut that man off as a friend, because this man has access to this woman, this situationship, and he has access to this female friend and all the emotional labor she's doing and all the possible access he'll get from her one night when she's drunk or feeling, you know, a little bit bad about herself, because most of these men are going to make a move on us at some point. Not all of them, but a lot of them will, and literally risk years of a friendship. So this man is literally manipulating two women and having access to all their emotional labor. And for the woman, he's the situationship, her body probably, I mean, you know, she probably goes over, she probably cleans up his house when she goes and hooks up with him. Like, please don't ever clean anything for men. Don't do anything for them. Do nothing for them. Nothing. Because that is not winning them over. That's literally showing them you can exploit the crap out of me. Never clean their house, never wash their dishes, never do anything for these men, especially if you're not dating them. Never. Even if you are dating them, don't do that crap. Because you are trying to sell yourself like a used car salesman. Look, I come with cleaning up after you. Don't do it. God. I hope you had a happy Valentine's Day. By that, I mean, I hope you felt loved by your community, by yourself, by maybe your female friends, and that you did not answer any texts from trash men who were exploiting all of your former traumas, all of your hopes, desires, dreams, and realistic wants to be loved. I hope that no man did that to you yesterday. And if he did, I hope you did not take the bait. And if you did, forgive yourself, cut him off, and move on. These men know exactly what they're doing.